Hi guys, I'm George. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm here in Mayfair in central London and I'm in search of cherry blossom trees. At this time of year in London there's often cherry blossom trees which come into bloom and they look really nice. So I basically have decided that as this is the right time of year to paint them, I want to try and find some of those trees to paint. Probably if you follow my channel you've seen I've painted a lot of times in Battersea Park. I think I've got at least 4 videos painting there. So today I want to paint somewhere a bit different, and I looked online and I found that there is somewhere in Mayfair near here which is meant to have really nice cherry blossom trees. I believe it's called the Mount Street Garden. So one advantage of painting in somewhere like Mayfair, which is probably one of the most affluent areas in London, maybe the most, and there's always the chance that you may sell the painting straight off the easel. That has happened to me quite a few times. So who knows, you never know who you're going to meet. I've had it before. I've been painting and I met a gallery owner who puts my work in his gallery, which was in Belgravia, so a really nice spot again. So yeah, I'm curious just to find a good spot, some of that cherry blossom, and who knows, maybe make some connections whilst I'm painting. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do subscribe, and let's keep looking for these cherry blossom trees. So I'm on Mount Street now, so hopefully that means I'm close. So I have been to this part of Mayfair before. I did have an exhibition once which was quite close to here. Really nice part of London. Definitely quite expensive. I brought my own packed lunch because I don't really want to spend a fortune on a cafe or somewhere in this region. So I'm here in Mount Street Gardens now, and I can see a really nice looking cherry blossom tree over there with a lot of pink colours going on. There's also quite a big palm tree over here, and the whole area just looks like a really nice area to paint. So now I just need to decide, am I going to paint in this spot looking towards the tree? Should I paint on the other side of the tree or paint somewhere else in the gardens? So I'm going to have a quick look around and try and decide on which spot will make for the nicest composition. Here I'm using raw umber paint to sketch in my composition, and I'm positioning the path so that it leads into the middle of the painting, and on the left there's a tall leafless tree, and then on the right I have the cherry blossom tree, which is going to be taken up about half of the painting, so that entire top right hand corner, and then it's also going to come over the centre line of the painting as well, as I really do want the painting to be about this pink cherry blossom, which we only get for a few weeks of the year here in England. And the tree trunk of the cherry blossom tree is going to be the darkest dark within the painting. So I'm mixing raw umber paint with ultramarine blue, and when these two colours mix together they make a really deep dark, and I'm keying this onto the painting at this early stage. And now that I have established the darkest dark, I can relate other dark areas in the painting to this area. To paint this column of benches, I've simplified them into 2 perspective lines which are going back towards the middle of the painting where the horizon would sit. One of the main challenges when it comes to painting winter trees without any leaves on is you can see all these small fiddly intricate branches which are really difficult to paint. So what I'm doing here is I'm allowing the underlayer of the painting, this light brown, to represent some of the smaller branches. I'm going in and painting the negative space between the branches with the sky colour, and I'm softening the edges between the brown underlayer and the sky, in order to help create the effect of these subtle winter branches. Here I'm painting in the general colour and value for the cherry blossom on the tree, and I'm painting the cherry blossom as a mid-tone because there is variation within the cherry blossom. Some areas are really quite bright and are catching the light, and other areas are a bit darker. And as I paint, I'm painting it slightly darker, which allows me then to paint thicker, lighter paint on top to bring out the cherry blossoms, which are either a bit whiter or are getting highlighted by the lightness of the sky. And to paint this colour mix, I'm using titanium white, alizarin crimson, cadmium red, and a touch of raw umber and ultramarine blue mixed into this, just to control the chroma of the pink, as it is a bright pink, but I don't want to make it look unnatural. And using my palette knife, I make a big pile of this paint mix so I can keep going back to this to paint in finer details of the cherry blossom. And I can also use some of this mix mixed with more titanium white to make a lighter mix to represent the cherry blossoms which are getting lit more by the sky, and also the cherry blossoms which are slightly closer to white. And I make a slightly separate mix where I add a bit more raw umber, and this is for the sections of the cherry blossoms which are in shadow, so they're a bit darker and a bit less chromatic. To paint the grass on the left hand side of the painting, I'm mixing yellow ochre with ultramarine blue and some cadmium yellow. I also make a cool light green mix, and I add a few dashes of this paint amongst the cherry blossom, as each branch on the tree, as well as having this pink cherry blossom, it also has a few green leaves, so I'm painting in a few of these leaves into this tree. And also this light green is a complementary colour to the pink, so it will actually make the pink look even more chromatic, and it will make it stand out even more. And to paint the path which is taking up the foreground and then running down the middle of the painting, I'm using ultramarine blue, titanium white, yellow ochre, and a touch of alizarin crimson as well. And it's often the case when making a colour mix, you mix the mix on your palette, then you analyse how that colour looks on your canvas. Perhaps it's too dark in value, is it too cool in colour temperature, is it too warm, and then you can adjust the mix on your palette accordingly without having to paint the whole area and then realise actually that colour isn't quite right. So there is a quote that one of my tutors told me when I was studying classical art at an atelier, and that was, the painting is done on the palette, and when it comes to all the colour decisions, mixing the colours and getting the right value, the right colour temperature, the right chroma, a lot of that can be done on your palette before you even put the brush down on the painting. And by mixing the paint on your palette, you'll have more control over the colours throughout the painting. Here I'm painting a lady sitting underneath the cherry blossom tree, and as I've been painting, quite a lot of people have walked past, sat down on the benches and then walked off. But this particular lady, I really liked the dress that she was wearing. It looked quite Japanese, and the cherry blossom, the sakura tree, I believe it's called in Japan, is a very iconic Japanese tree. So I feel painting in this lady with her long white dress will give a nice feeling to this painting, and she will fit in nicely to the composition. I also do enjoy painting figures into my plein air paintings, as whenever you paint a figure into a landscape, it instantly gives a sense of scale to the landscape, because we all know the size of another person, and that way we can judge the size of the trees and the buildings and everything which surrounds the figure. So I hope you've enjoyed that video of me painting the cherry blossom here in Mount Street Gardens in Mayfair. I've enjoyed it, but it did actually get really cold, and as it was relatively warm this morning, I didn't wrap up warm enough really. Whenever you paint somewhere, when you're standing still, chances are it can get quite cold, so I definitely feel like I need to go in, maybe get hot chocolate, warm up a bit. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Check out my next video, where I paint in St James's Park in central London, just days before the coronation of King Charles III.